thank you so much, Julia, for joining me today. Huge thanks. Like you've done such a service to the world with your amazing, essentially manual to creative writing, which is just such a block for so many people.
Yes, I think the book was needed, and that's why it's
Definitely.
done so well.
I think you're completely correct about that. And so I'm just going to do a brief introduction and then we're going to get straight into it. So, Julia Cameron is a poet, playwright, fiction writer, essayist, and award winning journalist. She's also the best selling author of The Vein of Gold. The Artist's Way, which was originally from 1994, is full of advice about connecting your artistic side so you can realize your creative dreams through it. So, first of all, how did you come to writing about the art of writing, essentially?
Well, I wrote a book about the art of being creative. So it could be writing, it could be painting, it could be acting, it could be any of the arts. And I came to write it, I think, a little bit out of temper. I did not like the way that artists were being treated, and I wanted to write a manifesto uh, to say, damn it, treat us better.
That is amazing. Oh gosh, I'm like, that's really it's interesting, especially in the back of what's happening now, even with, we've had the WGA strike. We've had a lot of writers sort of still dealing with these kind of issues and how creatives are treated. So, how do you feel about how creatives are treated at the moment then?
Well, I think we're being treated a little bit better. And I think that the reason we're being treated a little bit better is because people have more understanding of what creativity is. And that came about through the book.
That's true. So I've got to ask, so how has your understanding or approach to creativity actually sort of evolved since you first wrote that book then?
Well, I don't want to say that it has changed very much. I think actually it's remained substantially the same. And I think that it was because of my having taught for 10 years before I wrote the book, that it was a distillation, if you will, of the things that I knew.
Amazing. And do you actually do the morning pages yourself still, even now?
Yes, I do.
Oh, amazing. That's amazing. And do you still get then creative blocks and how do you kind of move past them at the moment?
Well, I think I do still get creative blocks, and I move past them through using the tools in the book. And particularly one I call blasting through blocks, which is an exercise where when you have a project to do and you're stalled on it, you're procrastinating,
Mm,
you're worrying. I have you write down all of your resentments, your angers, your fears connected to the project. And that seems to clear away a lot of difficulty.
I think we all need that. And I think these days we have our phones and all these distractions. And so how can you kind of maintain a creative practice when there's just so much distractions around us, do you think?
Well, I think it has to do with desire. When you desire a creative practice, you make it a priority. And I think that there are many people who desire a creative practice and who do make it a priority. And so when they read, don't uh, don't put your internet first. They
Mhm.
say, "Oh, all right, I won't put my internet first."
Yeah, gosh, it's bad. It is bad. And I'm totally guilty of that. Sometimes I just get distracted, and but then I remember actually the sort of the spiritual element of creativity. Has yours changed over time as well? Do you think your perspective of the spiritual side of it?
No, I think it's substantially the same. I think that I've realized that creativity was a spiritual practice, and realizing that I went forward, and I went forward in a bold
Mm.
way, you might say.
Gosh, in a very bold way. And how do you view the relationship between creativity and mental well-being?
Oh, I think that they are so closely intertwined that you can't separate them. I think that when people are functioning creatively, they start to be happy. Depression lifts, despair lifts. People find themselves feeling a sense of hope, a sense of optimism, a sense of enthusiasm. And all of these things are earmarks of mental health.
Yeah, because it seems to be even more prevalent these days, especially, after the pandemic. I think there seems to be like a growing creativity movement even from the pandemic. So it does make sense. I mean, do you feel that's the same as well? That there's just
I
more?
think, I think the pandemic was very helpful to us creatively because we were trapped and left to our own devices.
Mm.
And so as we found ourselves wondering, oh, I I can't go out of the house. What can I do next? We found ourselves turning to our inner creator, and I think that it's been a wonderful thing that people are able to say there has to be something more to life than this. And as we were removed from our jobs and removed from our friendships, we began to ask ourselves, well, what more is there? And finding the answer to that is an artist's way question.
Mm, very much so. Do you think, with this conversation obviously is everywhere at the moment, which is, the rise of AI, and artificial intelligence. So how do you see the artist's way kind of fitting into that creative landscape, or how do you even stop that? Because so many writers are now obviously written, that have launched legal suits and also written open letters to stop sort of big tech companies from taking their work and rehashing it essentially for these kind of programs. So do you think there is a way to still have the artist's way fitting into that landscape?
Well, I think that the artist's way work is work of origin. We are the origin of our work.
Mm.
We we have the word original, and it contains the word origin. And I think that as we are facing down what amounts to thievery, uh, we we find ourselves becoming more adamant uh, in our ownership of our work.
Mm. Definitely. I've seen that as well, and rightly so, because it is quite worrying how it just can, people are typing in, I'd like to write something like, I don't know, Stephen King or Margaret Atwood, and suddenly just brings up prose in that style, having obviously taken that work originally from them, they say illegally, of course. So it is a worrying idea about how artificial intelligence is changing the way we're writing. But with that in mind, if you could maybe give one piece of advice to like all aspiring creative writers, aspiring artists, what do you think it would be?
Oh, I think I would sound like a fanatic. I would I would say, please write morning pages. Morning pages are 3 pages of longhand morning writing that you do first thing on awakening. And if you will do morning pages, you will find yourself being more original, more enthusiastic, more hopeful, more, if I can use the word, prayerful.
Hmm.
Uh, the the morning pages are actually a potent form of prayer and meditation.
Hmm.
And I think if I could ask people to please just try them, uh, they would find themselves having creative breakthroughs.
Yeah, I like that because obviously I use your method as well, and it does help. Because otherwise I just sort of lose the discipline from doing it, which is great. And so, coming sadly to the my final question, which is how do you nurture and protect your own creative energy?
Well, for over 30 years, I've been doing morning pages, and they give me warning signals, uh, intuitions, hunches,
Mm,
inspirations, uh, things that say, this you must do in order to protect your work. Uh, but I think it's important that we not be too paranoid, and that we not say, oh, my work is in jeopardy.
mm,
I think it's important to say, oh, my work is hopeful.
mm. I like that. That's a lovely note to kind of finish on as well, to think of it as hopeful. So again, huge thanks, Julia, for speaking with me. Really, really appreciate it. And your work obviously stands the testament of time, as we're still talking about it after all these decades. So I really appreciate it. Really do.
Well, thank you. It was good to talk to you and good to answer questions that were sort of far afield for me. I haven't had to worry about artificial intelligence.
Fingers crossed. Uh, fingers crossed. Yes, no one hopefully should have to talk about this in a negative light. So absolutely, thievery. Ugh, yes, definitely. One to keep an eye on for sure. So yeah, Julia, huge thanks. I'm, again, it's in good time just before National Authors Day, which is on the 1st of November as well. So it's fantastic to hear from you.
Well, thank you.